Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the Reese number 470D. This is what's called a half saddle threshold, is what this is. And a half saddle threshold really refers to a threshold because thresholds are generally the shape of a saddle. They're generally saddle shaped. Well, when someone takes a saddle threshold and basically cuts it in half, it's now called a half saddle. And forgive me as I extract this out of its packaging. This is a 470, and that does mean half saddle. This is in the D finish, which is dark bronze, and dark bronze from Reese is a beautiful finish. Okay. Pull that out a little bit there. That's what a 470 looks like. Hopefully the first thing that impresses you, what I notice every time, and it's the thickness of the extrusion. There's no doubt that Reese has the thickest extrusions of weather stripping manufacturers. If you are looking for the thickest extrusion, think Reese every time. So hopefully you notice that right away. A nice feature on this half saddle is that it was meant to be a half saddle. In the sense of this is an extrusion that is made this way. This is not a threshold that they cut a half saddle, cut a half saddle out of a full saddle threshold. They make this and this only, okay, in this S470. I know that it's a dedicated die because it also has these serrations on the bottom, which are very, very helpful because what happens to a threshold? People walking on it all the time. But a half saddle, or a bump-up style, if we were to insert a piece of insert here, and you could, that's a different part number. This could be, if you wanted a silicone insert, it would be a S470DS. Now you've got a door pushing on it this way all the time. So traffic, lateral, pushing, and those serrations is what helps contend with the threshold being used in its intended application. Okay. Now that looks like it's probably 2-inch, maybe 2.5. There is an image down below showing us the dimensional properties of this item. It is indeed 2-inch wide, and it is 1/2 inch tall. This threshold is handicap compliant, provided you are using it in an application where you're bumping up against something. This approach is handicap compliant. This approach is not. You cannot exceed a 1/2 inch in height, but you cannot exceed a 1/4 inch where there is no rise over run relationship compliant with A117, the guide for usable buildings, the ADA compliant guide is what I'm referring to. So if you're butting it up to a floor, which would be a very typical use for a half saddle threshold, then you are in really good shape. There's a link below this video to the product brochure and the catalog. Let's take a look at, and the installation instruction. Let's take a look at those now. Okay, now in the manufacturer's page, we get to the product brochure that's here, and that will pull up the S470 as seen here, and its sister products, the other sizes available. And you will notice they can do an S for a silicone insert here. So if you're going to use it as a bump-up threshold, just add S to the end of it. The A means mill aluminum finish, and the D means dark bronze. You will see the other sizes of half saddles that are listed here, available both with the insert option and, of course, without. Okay. Half saddles on the second page as well. What's neat about these is you could run that on a table saw if you needed a custom size. That wouldn't be a problem. This gets into their ramp scenario. Reese can also do custom welding as well. They would be able to take these components and basically turn them into a custom threshold. And let's just take a quick tour down that logic of what I'm speaking of. The full line catalog, you would be able to, they have thermal break thresholds, And you would be able to build yourself by using these inserts. You will notice that this is a half saddle threshold, and that part number, you know, it's probably their 4-inch. I bet that piece that we were seeing here is the S284A, that thermal brake threshold that we were just looking at here. Okay, so they would be able to take these components and use that, what they call flexible vinyl. It's not very flexible. That's rigid, you know, rigid, dense plastic, and that could be used to spline different pieces together so as to give you some sort of a custom threshold. I've also had Reese manufacture for me an 18-inch wide threshold, and what we did there was we took these components and welded them together in this sort of arrangement, and it worked out just splendidly. We did this, we did the fluted 1/4-inch thick material, and we used the bars underneath to weld it and give it support. We were doing an exceptionally deep frame. The frame itself may have been 16-inch, but they wanted the threshold a little bit wider, and it worked out splendidly. So back to the product catalog, you have seen the other available options that are there in the half saddles. Then there's that link to the installation instruction here. Okay, not a lot of information here, and that is actually included on your packaging when you get the threshold. Measure, cut to length, notch it, pre-drill your holes, etc. So there's not a lot of data there. Let's wrap up this video. Now, the S470 is listed in the site in lots of different lengths. If you have need for a custom length, by all means, let us know. Order the next longest piece or pieces, and simply indicate in the comment field the net length you'd like for us to cut the material back to, and we'll be happy to ask the factory to oblige. You'll get not only a really clean cut on the edge, but you'll get countersinks at a nice distance from the edge as well. And speaking of that, fasteners are included. Okay, you can't really see them too well. Let's rectify that. Probably about a 10 by 1.5 inch and a complementary finish. Flathead wood screw. Okay. Speaking of those screws, a little bit of thought probably needs to be put into the what anchor do I need. You know, getting a number 10 Phillips flathead wood screw isn't necessarily going to work for your application unless it happens to. Reese can help with other fasteners, machine screws, lead anchors. Reach out to us. We'll be happy to work with you to get that sort of material added to your order. Okay. Back to the custom length. If you needed a custom length, and it's possible that you will, order that next longest piece. We'll trim it to length. We'll give you the countersinks at the proper distance from the edge and the proper centers going all the way down as well. Okay. Finally, there is a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Reese products that we sell, but a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. If you have any questions on the Reese, this is their part number S470D, half saddle threshold in a dark bronze anodized aluminum finish. And you can see that it's not dark. It's more consistent with an oil rubbed bronze finish. So it's very beautiful in that regard. Got any questions on this or any other Reese product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.